My name is David McLeod, and I am your life mastery coach and author of the wonderful and delightful little book, A Life to Die For. I'm also one of the co-authors in the best-selling series, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care. Welcome to Life Mastery TV, your source for inspiration, empowerment, and fulfillment. This is episode 223, and today our topic title is Your Vibration is Your Currency. Now, whether you know it or not, you are a unique and powerful expression of universal consciousness. And as such, you have a unique and powerful way of showing up and creating an impact on the world around you. You may not fully realize this truth, but it is indeed a fact of life. Now, the ultimate goal of all Life Mastery TV episodes is to help you deepen your understanding and experience of your true nature, so that you can live the fullest and most complete expression of who you really are. Now, one thing you may not have thought much about is this idea of vibration. Each of us in every moment is choosing, consciously or not, the level of our own vibration. And interestingly, the more conscious and aware we are, the higher that vibration tends to be, because our level of awareness affects the choices we make and the consequences that they have on the world. Now, for this episode of Life Mastery TV, we're going to engage in a deep conversation about this idea of vibration, with particular focus on how we can operate at higher levels and thus have a more positive impact in the world, a greater percentage of the time. Now, to help me shine a light on this important subject, I've invited back the delightful Queen of Resilience to join me. Now, Leah Skurdal is a resilience event leader, energy healer, inspirational speaker, and author. She guides heart-led leaders to nurture a resilient body-mind, improve their relationships, and respond to change with agility. Her workshop participants up-level their stress response, improve their relationships, and expand their impact. So please join me in welcoming the delightful Leah Skurdal to our program today. Hey there, Leah. Thank you for joining me again. It's been a while, and I'm just so glad to have you back here again.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation.
Beautiful. And so now I know the last time you were on the show, we did talk a little bit about your background and what makes your interest in resilience so important. But now you seem to be taking a shift and talking more about vibration rather than resilience. Or maybe it's just a part of the same package. So help me understand a little bit about where your interest in vibration comes from and why it's something that you want to promote more.
Well, actually, the vibration of resilience is what we're talking about.
Okay.
And I've been studying vibrations for 30 years. Like, what is it that makes us resilient? And, thinking about myself in my 20s, I would get blown off course by other people's energy, by things that were happening in the world. And as I learned more about how to manage my own energy vibrations, then I became more resilient, and that's what I want to share with other people.
Right. You're beautiful. And I like the fact that you've encapsulated this notion of vibration as a currency, as something that we can exchange with each other and use for, we can swap one form of vibration for another form of vibration. There's a lot of interesting perspectives tied into that idea.
Well, absolutely, because we're interconnected beings, and we're always in this dance of sharing energy with each other. And when we're mindful of that, when we're conscious of what we're putting out and what we're receiving back, then that's a level of self-mastery that brings so much more satisfaction in life.
Right. Yeah, that's powerful. And, okay, so something that you said, first of all, I put this into the description as well. We are vibrational beings. And in fact, one thing that I have been thinking a lot about lately is this whole notion of vibration, not just on a level of human spirituality or anything like that, but just on the whole universe. Everything in the universe is vibrating. It's constantly moving. There is really no such thing as stillness, because even in the stillest moment that we can imagine, things are still vibrating. Sound, the universe is still vibrating. And it is that vibration that actually imparts life and creativity and all those other amazing things to pretty much every energy being in the world, or in the universe, I should say, not just the world.
Absolutely. Everything is vibrating energy at different frequencies, different densities, different speeds. And so, becoming mindful of that my body has a frequency that I can tune into can help me become a better healer, or that my thoughts have a vibration that I can tune into. Helps me be more aware of how I'm influencing the people around me.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned density. That's a good word. I think that, well, obviously, the denser things become, the more they become like matter rather than energy. They become the hard stuff, if you like, that we imagine to be solid, and even though it's not really that way, it just appears that way because of the energy forces that are holding all those, elementary components together.
Yes, and still that density is in motion. It's
That's right. Yeah.
it's evolving as well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which I
Right. Just
find
because it's dense doesn't mean it's
it's static.
still. Like
That's static.
when you look at a rock, for example, the rock doesn't appear to be moving, but that's just because our sensitivity to its motion is not highly tuned. If we can bring our awareness to the level of the energy of the rock, we can begin to see its movement too, and experience that, and begin to understand that it is all expressions of consciousness from, throughout the universe. Everything that we see, everything that we think, everything that we feel, all of that is just simply expressions of consciousness throughout the universe.
Yes. Expressions of consciousness. I was just noticing that somebody else joined us, so I was going to say hello. So I got.
Yeah, right. I was going to say that as well. Welcome to both Lorraine and Candace. Thank you for being here. If you feel like you would like to comment or ask some questions or whatever, please just post those in the chat, and we will get to those as soon as we can.
Sure. What is your experience of your personal vibration? So becoming mindful of the effect of vibrations on our psyche, on our emotions, helps us navigate change with more agility. That's what I feel resilience is. And I'm making a comparison because, just as you were talking about, if a rock is also got some density and vibration, but it's also evolving, because the rock will break down into sand. The rock will break down into smaller bits. And so that which will be nourished from the nutrients in the earth, the minerals of the earth will nourish the plants, which nourish our bodies, which nourish the decomposition cycle. There's this evolution. And so not only is there this movement of vibration, but there's also an evolution of vibration,
Right.
which I find fascinating.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah, we perceive change in our lives because our minds are designed to put things into a linear order, and so we have these little snapshots that happen in our awareness. And it's like the way we make movies, right? We just basically connect all these snapshots together. And that's how we kind of construct the notion of past, present, and future. Anything that occurs earlier in that sequence is considered to be in the past, and anything that moves further out becomes in the present and then into the future. And yet, really, from a grand scheme of things, from the sense of all-encompassing consciousness, the ocean of consciousness, the universal consciousness, everything, all of it is happening right now. All of it is right now. It's not just, the evolution thing is just the process that we begin to see because of the way our minds work.
And our minds are hardwired to prefer things stay the same. So
That's right.
we don't necessarily like change. And yet, if we can become more mindful that we are changing, we are evolving, change is the process, then we can become more comfortable and let our ego minds kind of be in that flow. That's the perspective that I want to really encourage people to adopt, is that change, improvisation, movement, that's normal. That's all normal. And staying things the way that, have been, not normal, even though that's what our brains want.
Right. And I like your word improvisation. That kind of relates back to your idea of jazz living, which
Exactly.
which I kind of like too.
Exactly. So they're intertwined. This is a process of becoming comfortable with change, because coming up in the next decades, we will need to become I'm not going to say comfortable, but we're going to have to deal with a lot of change. And so the more we can be adaptable, the more we can be flexible, the more we can navigate change with agility, the more comfortable we will be in our skins.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective too. And I think even comfort is a kind of an illusion, really. I think we can take comfort way too far. We get so comfy, cozy in our lives, and we think this is a good thing. Um, in fact, what happens in the comfort zone, as I'm sure you know, is things, maybe are okay, but they stop growing. They stop expanding because you've kind of encased them inside this box, or this whatever. I like to call it a coffin, because that's really what it reminds me of.
Well, that's a
So
very good point, that
sometimes
we get comfortable with things staying the same,
that's
and
right.
yet growth isn't like that.
That's right.
Growth includes expanding that cocoon.
Right. Right. And I think what I'm trying to say is, all right, sometimes it's good to get into the comfort zone just to kind of regroup, reconnect, and just center ourselves. But I think in reality, if we truly want to expand and grow and become the fullness of who we really are, we have to step outside that comfort zone. And that means being willing to navigate whatever changes there are happening in our world, and just approach them knowing that the universe has our best interests at heart. It's not, our universe is not out to harm us or hurt us in any way. Sure, sometimes bad things can happen. And sometimes when we look back on those bad things, we realize, wait a minute, this was actually a gift. If that hadn't happened, then all of these other things wouldn't have come about as a result. Now, of course, while this bad thing is happening, we are definitely unhappy, unpleasant. We're not feeling good about it. And so it's really hard to see the gift in that moment. And I think that's what this whole resilience process is about, is coming to a place of understanding that no matter what's going on in my life right now, I will shortly, in fact, I can right now, if I choose, see the gift in this situation.
Exactly. And just a few days ago, I kind of went through this period of time of feeling a lot of discomfort. There was so much energy moving through my body. I felt like I was getting whomped with sheets of energy, and it felt very uncomfortable. And I was wondering if other people were experiencing the same thing. And then I am also at the same time noticing that analogy of the caterpillar in the cocoon, it turns into mush. And
Yeah,
it
I know.
probably might not think that, I mean, if we give some thought process to the caterpillar, that it's not enjoying this process and that it is the butterfly cells that are trying to grow, it keeps squelching them until finally there are so many butterfly cells that they overpower the caterpillar cells, and the butterfly starts to grow, and then it's too tight inside its cocoon and it emerges. That felt like my process this last week. Like,
Right, right.
okay, we're just going to emerge out of here.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting perspective too. I mean, I love the analogy of the butterfly emerging from the cocoon. It is a transformational process for sure. And all of us have the opportunity to go through those kinds of processes anytime we want to. We don't have to turn to mush necessarily, although some of us do kind of fall apart and get all mushy, and it's maybe not all that pleasant. But at the other side, you think, oh my God, I feel so great now. I've released so much of this pent up energy, this stuff that was stuck in my body somewhere. And now I have this chance to really expand and grow.
Yes. And what I want to circle back to is this notion of vibration and feeling it. I'm very kinesthetic and I
Right.
feel things. We talk about energy and vibration in terms of electricity, electrical energy. We can see EKG machines and MRI machines that measure the electromagnetic field around our bodies. And we talk about sound vibration, and we'll come back to that in a minute, and how the sound affects our bodies and water in our bodies. And I specifically want to hear about other people's experiences of being kinesthetic and feeling energy vibrations. When I first started noticing, like waking up, I was in my 20s, I would wake up in the middle of the night and my feet were buzzing, and I would have to get up and walk outside around the block, just pounding my feet because there was so much energy moving through. And another point, when I was in a mindfulness class, the light just changed. Are we frozen? Something happened.
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay. I was in this class where we were expanding into oneness, and my energy was moving like this. And my teacher said, you were just trying to stay too small. Well, I felt again like that butterfly emerging from the cocoon. I had to break out. So
Right.
I'm curious about other people's experiences of this kinesthetic sensation of energy flooding your body.
Yeah. Well, I see that Lorraine just asked a question here. Is there a way to evolve or transform without becoming mush? Is it really necessary to burn before the phoenix rises? Well, the answer to that question is no, it's not necessary. It's not necessary to burn. But the problem is, many of us are dealing with an ego mind that is in resistance, in strong resistance to the expansion of the soul. It's the ego mind that puts all these barriers and prevents us from growing into our fullness. And so when we have to find a way to tame or quiet or make the ego mind more relaxed so that we can do what we need to do. And the more experience we have with doing that, the less experience we have of fighting against the ego mind. And therefore, the process of transformation becomes easier over time. So it's really a question of what level of consciousness, what level of awareness we're at right now. And I mean, we all have ego minds. As long as we remain in our physical bodies, we will continue to have ego minds. The question is whether we will allow ourselves to be run by the ego minds, or whether we will learn to quiet the ego mind and start paying more attention to our spiritual nature, our true essence.
Perfect. And that is actually the tool we're going to do at the end of this. But also this morning in my reset meditation session, we focused on uplifting the third chakra and the ego mind into the heart chakra and connecting ego to soul. And that's something that I do as a healing practice if there's somebody who maybe I feel needs a blessing, but I don't feel like I can help them. I'll connect ego soul, ego soul. Just imagine that their ego and their soul are talking to each other.
Right.
So I think that is a way that we don't have to do a lot of drama. I gave up drama. Like, I don't do drama. I don't
Right.
do drama. It's like I'm not participating in that story. So how
Right.
then, just with that intention, okay, how can I shift the most gracefully as possible?
Right. And let's just be clear that just because you turn to mush doesn't mean it's not graceful. Grace has its own amazing way of showing up in life. And I mean, I have done a lot of shadow work with people, and sometimes in order to get to the root of a shadow, it does require going through some muck. And in going through that muck, you discover belief systems and other stories that have been in your body for years that no longer, that probably never really served you very well in the first place. They might have kept you safe when you were a kid, but nowadays they don't help at all. And so you have to find a way of getting that out of your body. And sometimes that requires challenging work. And what I have found is this psychodrama that you're talking about is actually a very powerful way of finding it, getting it out of the body, so that I can allow love and peacefulness and serenity and resilience and all those beautiful things to start coming in and filling in the emptiness that now occurs because I've removed that out of my system. So it's a
And
powerful process, and everybody has their own way of doing it. And I think there is no right way. There are many ways of finding your way to your true nature. And some are easier than others. That's all.
yeah, it's a very good point. Everybody's got to find their path through, because all paths are unique. And so what works for me may or may not work for you. What works for one person will, maybe work for another. My essence, my intention, how can I shift this the most gracefully, easily, joyfully as possible? Because I don't want to do drama. So that's just me.
Yeah, Lorraine just added that she says, I sit a lot, and now I find that when I do my stretching, my body will start its own movement. Now, that is a beautiful point to share, and it's extremely important. The body has all this energy that it's pent up over time, and it's looking for ways of getting it out. And often, just allowing the body to move is a powerful way of getting that energy out of your system. And moving may involve other things like yelling, screaming, making some kind of a sound, or crying, or whatever. All of those movements that are going on in your body are ways of getting that unpleasant energy out, so that you can make room for the stuff that really supports you.
I love that. I have done that kind of movement. So I think that's brilliant, of course, because I do it too. But I call it body soul movement. So allowing the body to lead, not having my mind tell my body how to move, but allowing the body to lead and process energy through movement. And David, I know you do that as well, and you lead other people to do that. I think that process is so helpful to be more body based, to be more allowing of what wants to move through, and that will be able to find a lot of solutions, because out of that, just as you say, out of that creating space, then new energy, new thoughts, new awarenesses can percolate to the surface. And I personally enjoy playing with, I think, waves of Kundalini energy roll up my spine. Like, that feels very exciting. It feels healing as well. So, Lorraine, I think maybe that addresses your thoughts as well.
Well, she also mentions, and I like this, she says, my body and I now have an agreement that at some point in the stretching, I will allow it to do its own movement. Now,
Brilliant.
there's two very, very important points here. One, the agreement part. You've had a conversation of some kind with your body. Uh-oh, Leah, we just lost your camera feed. I hope you can come back on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. But anyway, so the second thing is allowing, which means giving your body permission to express itself. Because often, and that's not for the body. The body's going to do what the body is going to do. That's really for the ego mind. The ego mind is going to want to try and stop the body from expressing itself, because the ego mind has all kinds of judgments about how this makes me look bad. This makes me look like I don't have any control over myself. It makes me look like I'm a fool. All this kind of stuff. So it's the ego mind that wants to stop the body from expressing. The body just wants to express and get that energy out. So I'm good for you, Lorraine, for having that agreement and giving your body permission. Although really what you're doing is you're giving your ego mind permission to allow the body to do its thing.
Yeah. I've had such powerful awakenings, shift points by letting my body wisdom inform me, inform my mind.
We could do a whole course on body wisdom. I mean, there's so much
absolutely.
we could talk about there. It's a wonderful thing. But I do want to get us back on track here and onto the vibration thing. So let me ask you this. For someone who maybe isn't so attuned to the concept of vibration, how can they become better at connecting to a sensation that corresponds to the vibration that you're talking about? What do you have in terms of recommendations for that?
Well, this is the tool that I'd like to share. And that is, first off, creating space. Creating space in your life, creating space in around you. So as Lorraine is doing, creating space for her body to move. And so that's the first piece. And when I started paying attention, I don't know what, 40 years ago or whatever, that I would just sit and say, I'm listening. I'm listening. And wait to see what showed up, if anything. And so just first creating that space where you can be aware. And then pay attention. So that's one, create space. Two, then notice what you notice. Notice that, oh, there's a buzzing in my ear, and that buzzing in my ear happens when I'm thinking about a certain thing, or I need to pay attention to something. And so noticing your body informing you.
Yeah.
Giving your body permission to inform you, creating space, and I'm listening, yes. And then and maybe, David, you've probably noticed this too, that your body will maybe give you a signal. Pay attention, pay attention. And for example, mine is this buzzing in my ear. All of a sudden, like, this is something I need to notice. This is something I have to be mindful of, which I find fascinating. So paying attention to what is your body offering you. That's another one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it reminds me, I have one form of meditation that I do that it's kind of like that. And I actually do like to sit as still as I can. And I have a special meditation bench that I sit on. So I'm on my knees, but my butt is on this bench, and the bench crosses over behind my feet. And I just sit there with my eyes closed, and I just say, okay, what's happening? I don't say I'm listening, but that would be working. That would work too. I just say, what's happening? And then I just kind of scan my body. And when I notice something, like maybe I'll feel a little pain in my lower back or something, I'll just bring my attention right there and I'll say, okay, what is that? Is there a message there? Does that pain have something it wants to tell me? And it's okay if there isn't. And I say, you know what? That's cool. I see that pain is there. I don't know what you're there for. Maybe it's something that's been there for a long time. Maybe it's something that's new. But I just look at it and I just observe it. Try not to judge it or anything. Just observe it. And then after a while, I notice that it doesn't seem to want to talk to me anymore. And then I feel something over here on my shoulder. And I say, oh, what's that? And it's constantly a case of what's happening and just observing and being present with it and not judging it or trying to fix it or anything like that. I do like to ask, is there a message for me? Or is there something you want me to know? And sometimes I will get a powerful message that says you need to do more work on breathing because I'm constricted here or something like that. That's a common one for me because I do have some breathing issues. Or sometimes I'll feel something in one of my knees that says you need to do more stretching. Other things might be deeper, like, wow, this pain in my back, it's not going away. I really need to find a way to express this. Okay, so how can I express it? And then I will do something like what Lorraine does. I'll just let the body decide what it needs to do, to move it, to shift it, twist body, do some exercise, whatever it might be. Maybe cry. Sometimes crying happens, and that's all beautiful stuff. It's amazing, beautiful stuff. The body is an amazing device. Pay attention to it. Treat it with love.
An amazing device, and so that's that wonderful personal responsibility that we have maintaining our space. Our bodies are also antenna, and
Right.
we're picking up the vibrations of other people. So that's another layer, is
Right.
when we come in contact with somebody else, and maybe you've got your energy bubble and someone else's energy bubble, and you feel into that intersection. When I first started becoming aware of that intersection of somebody else's energy and mine, I would be around a person and get a stomach ache.
Mm.
And it happened so often that it really caught my attention. And it took me years to figure out that if I would open the back of my head and neck and open the back of my heart, their energy just passed right on through and I didn't get a stomach ache. Like, it took a long time to figure that out.
Wow.
That's something that I've practiced since then, is noticing if around somebody else's energy, I start to feel depleted, exhausted, then that's my cue. I need to tap in, plug into my own energy field, that higher awareness, and allow that higher vibration to move through and replenish me, to replenish the other person as well, because they're just trying to find their own replenishment, but they're looking to do that through me, but let's just hook them up to their own energy field instead, their own ego soul, help them find that through themselves. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know for myself, I sometimes go into social situations and I've noticed that there are times when I can feel the energy of attraction, the energy that says, this is a good person to hang out with. And then I sometimes, with a different person, I'll feel the energy of repulsion that says, you may want to stay away from this person. And I've learned to pay attention to that. And as you say, there are people out there who seem to want to just suck the energy out of everything around them. They are so depleted on their own energy and they don't know how to connect to their own. So they want to get it from you and me and everybody else around them. So it's a beautiful lesson to learn about this notion of paying attention to your body, because as you say, the body is an antenna and it is constantly connected to all of the energy that we are exposed to. And not all of that energy, by the way, is coming from other people. There are plenty of devices that we've created in our world that also have energy fields that sometimes can interfere with what's going on in our life. Radio energy, I mean, hanging in front of a computer all day long. All of these things have an impact on our overall energy. So we just have to be aware, and we have to do everything we can to separate ourselves from those dysfunctional energy structures and move ourselves back into something that is supportive and enlivening. Like get out into nature, go for a walk.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
yeah. And, we haven't been taught this as kids. Now, that's, again, one of my passions is I want everyone to know how to navigate their own energy field and bump up against other people's energy fields and be that expression of divine love that's improving the energy field around them. And I think that will help us create a world, a better world that we all are interested in living in. Let's see. You said something else I was going to comment on, but I didn't put a sticky note on it.
A virtual sticky note.
Virtual sticky note. Oh, that was it, about getting out into nature. Yeah, I was going to say that to notice when you are feeling depleted and then do those things that re-energize you. Sit with your tailbone on the ground, walk bare feet in the grass.
Right.
Find your breath, expand your rib cage.
And I know this is hard for some people, but I would strongly recommend when you go out into nature, leave all of your devices at home or in your car or something. Do not take your cell phone with you. I mean, really, some people are so attached to their cell phones, they can't be away from them. And that talks to another different problem. But if you can just leave that behind, you're only going to be gone for half an hour or an hour or whatever. It's not going to kill you, And believe me, this is another thing I like to remind people. You're not that important that people are going to get upset if they can't get a hold of you for an hour. I also just wanted to comment on one of Lorraine's points here. She says, how do you remember that at the time? And I think what she really means here is, how can you be aware of it in the moment when it's happening? And I have to agree, that is a big challenge. I don't always catch it when it's happening live. I sometimes realize it after the fact. But that's what levels of awareness are all about. The more we can raise our level of awareness and raise our consciousness level, the easier it becomes to notice things like that in the moment when they're happening. And we can deal with them from a place of love, open-heartedness, and generosity, the way Leah just mentioned, rather than from a place of reactivity.
And also, if we do a little bit of pre-planning, if we know we're going into a situation that's going to be a little dicey, perhaps, set that in meditation in the morning, set that intention to send out a path of love and light for the rest of the day, see that experience of those people coming together, maybe going beautifully, so that when you're walking into that situation, then there's already some good energy that you're walking into. There's a critter outside my window. And so that's one piece that we can do ahead of time and something to play with. But no, we're not always going to be on top of it in the moment. And just how quickly can we get back in. The level of mastery is not that we never fall off the wagon. Mastery is that how quickly can you get back in the flow again?
That's exactly right. And thank you for mentioning that. This is what really, I think, it's not so much whether you make a mistake, it's what you do with the information that you get after having completed that. What are you going to do next? What's your new behavior? What are you learning about yourself that you can now carry forward into the next iteration? Yeah, and the other thing I just want to remind people is, okay, you're going to mess up. You're going to screw up. It's no big deal. We're human beings. We are perfect as we are right now, but we still make mistakes. And those mistakes are there to help us to continue to learn. So instead of beating yourself up if you make a mistake, just say, oh, look at that, a learning opportunity. How wonderful is that? And then if you can do that, if you can just take that attitude anytime something happens that you're not happy about, Just say, okay, I wasn't happy about that. And maybe I could have done a better job. Good, great. Now I've learned. What can I do next time? What can I do next time? What can I do next time? Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I just want to really come back to this notion of your vibration is your currency. I want to talk a little bit more about this idea of currency, which implies exchange of energy exchange. In fact, some people use the acronym SEX, Sacred Energy Exchange, which I think is kind of cool. So what do you have to say about that? This idea of vibration as a mode of exchange.
Of exchange. Okay. So let's just take a moment right now. And even we're in virtual space. We have an energy vibration. Drop from your head to your heart. Notice your heart rhythm. And now imagine that you've got this energy flowing out around you. Can you feel into where your energy bubble and my energy bubble and everybody who's listening to these words, we're in a group vibration, where our energy overlaps? Can you feel? I can feel that. To me, it's palpable. Can you feel into that?
Mm-hmm.
So here we have this, we're these sensors. We're not in the same physical space, but we can feel into this virtual space. So how can we be more proactive in that virtual energy space? And what I want to say about that is taking that time, and here's this is what I want to encourage people to do every day, multiple times. Bring your attention from your head to your heart and plug in like you're plugging in your electrical cord, and allow that the currency of the universe, divine love, whatever you call that, to flow through you, flow through your heart, and surround you like a bubble. And then bring that energy awareness into your next interaction. Find your grounding. Bring your attention from head to heart to belly, through your hips, through your legs, through your feet, into the earth. We should have done that first, I suppose.
No shoulds.
Okay. Sometimes it's good to be grounded first. Awareness, head, heart, belly, legs, feet, earth. And then bring that earth energy back up through your feet, legs, torso, out the top of your head like the canopy of a tree.
Beautiful.
And then plug inward. And as you are allowing that divine essence that animates life to flow through you, it's the essence that is in every cell of your body. You're just bringing your awareness to that. And then we bring that awareness into our interactions with other people. Oh, you also are a being of love and light, even whether or not we're acting in that way. And in that way, we can raise the vibration of our currency, of our exchanges. Oh, you also are a being of love and light. I see you for who you are. And then again, that I just get this warm feeling through my heart of connection. Now, some days we're better at that than others.
Right. And that's another thing. There's so many things that we've covered here, and I love the whole exchange, of course. One of the things that I'm constantly aware of now, ever since I did my really, really big awakening process back in 2003, I have a very, very strong awareness of my connection with all that is, my oneness with all that is. It's not just a buzzword for me anymore. I had a visceral experience of that, and so I know it's true. And so in the reality, when I'm communicating with you, it's really just an illusion that you're a separate being that I'm having a conversation with. The reality is you and I are one, and we're just merging and exchanging energy. That's really what's going on. And it doesn't matter if we happen to be, 3,000 miles apart on the planet and we're having this virtual conversation. It's exactly the same energy. Nothing changes. We're still all one. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that I can't even find the words to describe it because it's such a powerful and esoteric thing, you know?
What I find also fascinating and playful is both and. We are both that oneness of the flow of life and this finite, unique individual in this now moment. And how can we bring our awareness into that both and exchange? Because divine love is expressing uniquely through each of us. And that's how divine love, God, Goddess, all that is, whatever you call that, is evolving through us, through our growth, through our personal awareness, through our expansion. Our individual expansion is the divine expanding. Isn't that cool? So being aware of that both and, I think, is
Right.
delightful.
Yeah, and I think, well, I obviously have a slightly different perspective than you do, and that's perfectly okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a very, very strong overlap with what we're saying. It's not exactly the same, but there's very strong overlap, and there's a lot of common ground there, which makes sense because we both have a very, very intense connection to our spiritual nature. So that's what makes this a beautiful exchange, and the whole thing is all about. It's like I like to think of it this way. You and I are looking at an object in the middle of a table, and you have your perspective because the object is facing you, and it shows you some aspect of itself. But that same object, to me, might appear quite different. In fact, it could be so different that it appears that we are arguing with each other. However, we are not really arguing. We're merely describing our experience of that object. And both of those experiences are correct and true.
We're unique and united.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful awareness, I think, and something that I really hope people get the importance of that awareness. Some people might be there. Some people might have that experience in their life, and some may not. They may think, oh, this is just a lot of woo-woo stuff, and that's okay. They can think that. That's perfectly okay. I used to think that too before I had my powerful awakening experience. And for me, it took something major to really see the things in what I believe is in a more accurate way. But for some people, it might not take quite a strong experience. You might just go to bed one night and wake up in the morning completely different. It might be that way for you. And whatever way it happens, I think it's beautiful.
So that our individual spiritual path that is unique to each of us is the journey. That's what we're here for.
Right.
So how do you tap into your awareness and allow that highest and best expression of you to inform you in this now moment of what the next right action is? To me, that's the process of life. And that's the juice. To me, that's the juiciness.
Well, yeah, that's the juice. And I think, another way of describing it is it's the power source. The juice is the power source. And all of us are connected to it. We just maybe forget about our connection because we're so busy living our daily lives and, dealing with all our ego mind issues and stuff like that. But if we can just, as you say, I love this, take that little journey from the head down into the heart, come down into your heart, quiet the ego mind, and listen to the truth that's going on down here. And as soon as you do that, you're immediately aware of your connection to the power source. It's not just a story anymore.
And sometimes we might forget to what I call plug in. Imagine, let's use this analogy. You're making a smoothie. You have your blender. You put in a banana and some fresh fruit and some frozen fruit and some juice, and you've got it sitting there, and you push the button. Nothing happens. Why not? Well, the power source is over there. You're not plugged in. But I don't want to take time to carry the blender over there. I don't want to spill anything. I don't want to take
That's
time
such a lot of work.
Plug it in. You keep pushing the button, like, you know what? You're not plugged in. So
keep pushing the button and hoping for a different result.
Right. Yeah, so
exactly.
Take time to again, you can use different analogies. Find the analogy that works for you. I sometimes think about a closed hand. I am not plugged in, or an open hand. Oh, you're just opening your heart like a flower blossoming to receive that wisdom of your highest and best self. That's what I mean.
I love that, using your hand as a metaphor for your whole body. If my hand is like this, then I'm tight, I'm closed, I'm probably in some state of fear. Something's going on. If I can just loosen the fingers and open the hand, I can immediately feel a shift in my body just by doing that.
I can too. And also taking that deep breath, expanding the rib cage to the sides, that lets your parasympathetic nervous system feel into, it's safe to be here now.
Right.
To breathe.
That's a beautiful point. When I hold my hand tight, taking a deep breath is not as easy.
Oh, you're right.
Have you noticed that? Just try it yourself. Hold that thing tight and try and take a deep breath.
It only goes to about here.
You can do it, but it's harder, isn't it? Right. Now just release. All of a sudden, everything seems to open up.
Yes.
And that breath comes more easily.
Yes.
You're a genius. I'm glad you mentioned the hand thing.
We created that together.
It's great.
See, your energy, my energy came together. We created something beautiful in the now moment.
That's right.
And that's one of the things I love about this conversation about vibration and resilience, is that when we bring our highest and best selves together, if there are two or more of us plugged in to our own inner well-being, that we can bring something of a higher perspective into the now.
Well, that's a very good point. But another point that I'd like to add to that is, even if we come into a group and for some reason the group isn't at the highest level, that is no excuse for me to bring my level down. In fact, it's an encouragement to me to keep my level as high as possible. Just being at the highest possible level of openness and vibration overall helps those other people to start to tap in. They might start by tapping into me, and eventually they'll tap into themselves, and maybe their fist will open too.
And that is a very, very good point. And I've played with that too, how your vibration can influence others. Maybe you imagine a dinner conversation or a meeting where it's, people are a little snipey, or the energy is a little bit sticky, or a little negative. You tap into your inner vibration of well-being and flood that room with divine love. first off, notice who gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
but also notice that the conversation is uplifted, that new solutions will emerge when you can have that kind of influence of the bringing well-being up a notch into the room. That is a powerful
That's
skill.
a great reminder phrase. Up a notch. Let's all up a notch. I love it. It's great. Well, we're getting close to our time here, Leah. Before I close out, I just want to make sure, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the people who are here live or who are listening to the recording?
Yes. I want to say hello to Lorraine again. And even if the group doesn't uplift, then you're still better off because you're not getting sucked down. Yes.
That's right.
One thing that I wanted to offer is I want to offer where'd it go? Here we go. No. Okay. Why is this? All right. We'll come back to this in a minute. I'm going to share a link, which is to have a 15-minute conversation with me, and let's do a quick energy update. And that might be fun, and see if we can. All right. Well, for whatever reason, my cursor is not letting me connect to this. There we go. We got it. Okay. Sorry to take this time.
That's okay. Well, even I will make sure that link is on your permanent page when I create the recording space for this. So it'll be there and people can connect into that.
Good. All right.
Calendly. Oh, so it's a signing up for an actual session with you.
Yeah, just a 15-minute, get on my calendar. Let's just chat for 15 minutes we'll tap into your energy and see where we can play together.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Leah. It's been just a real fabulous pleasure, as always. I enjoy the give and take. I like the little dance that we do. Yeah. It's really kind of fun. And I'm going to, obviously, you're going to be coming back on this show again sometime. But I want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, David. It's a delightful dance when we get to chat together.
Right. And I just want to remind everybody, when you are in a low vibration, which sometimes happens when you're operating on autopilot, you allow yourself to become more reactive to external stimuli. If you enjoy being more relaxed and serene whenever possible, then learn to raise your awareness and your vibration to higher levels. Remember the idea of going from your head to your heart. And in this way, you move from reactivity to responsiveness, and the world seems much more pleasant in every respect. I want to thank you all for being here on the live show or for watching today's program. And I want to remind you that you can catch recordings of this and all other previous episodes on my website at lifemasterytv.com. And also, the way I always close these programs, I just want to invite you all to remember to practice my life mastery mantra and do this every day. It's a great practice for you. It goes like this. I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So until we meet again, I want to say thank you again for being here. My name is David McLeod, your life mastery coach, and I'm wishing you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. I'll see you next time right here on Life Mastery TV. Bye-bye.